but the Duchess, biting down on her gag, screams Calix's name in fury. Breaking free of her restraints, she curses Calix and vows to bring ruin to his family for generations. Calix, calm and composed, knows she's powerless now. Her strength will likely amount to no more than Layla's. Rumbine kneels by his mother, gently asking if she's okay. Calix, however, feels a pain of guilt for ruining the future of someone so young. But he reminds himself that it's just a game. There's no room for sympathy. Russell, observing him, seems confused as Calix steels himself for the next step. Now that they come this far, there's no turning back. Calix orders Russell to proceed with the remaining matters. It's announced that Lady Stella and Prince Brumbine will be confined to an annex forbidden from any outside contact. The mother and son are escorted out through the door, leaving Calix watching intently. He then approaches the treasurer, accusing him of leaking vital documents. As a result, the treasurer is stripped of his position, imprisoned and placed under investigation. The old treasurer tries to make excuses, claiming his situation is different. He curses at one of the soldiers, who doesn't appreciate it and lands a solid punch to his gut. With that, the bald man is dragged away. Calix feels a bit awkward about causing all this chaos, but at least things seem to be working in his favor. The remaining people in the room tremble with fear or terrified they might be punished next. Observing Calix, they begin to realize something. Russell's support means that all the knights are aligned with his prince. In a way, the succession dispute has already ended. Russell's loyalty to Calix is a direct warning to everyone in the room. Calix calls for the head of security, who nervously approaches. Russell steps in, declaring that the man is suspended from all his duties. The security chief has no choice but to accept, while the others in the room grow even more anxious, fearing it might be next. Suddenly, a man seated in the corner apologizes. He admits to failing his duties and asks to be dismissed. Calix, however, knows that this man, Garrett, is one of Russell's trusted allies. Russell immediately denies the resignation, stating firmly that it won't be accepted. Those who want to work don't get to, and those who don't want to will have to, Russell remarks sarcastically. The room prepares a list of all the officials involved in the incident. Garrett is tasked with overseeing their removal. If this unfolds, Calix walks over Garrett. He informs him that only 4 individuals from the finance department will be exempt from investigation. Clearly, they'll meet a lot of new personnel. Garrett advises leniency toward those with minor infractions, warning that removing too many officials at once could disrupt operations. Calix counters, questioning if avoiding investigations for the sake of operations is really a good idea. He argues that granting forgiveness won't be seen as leniency. It will be perceived as weakness. Garrett insists that many of the officials were merely aligned with the wrong side, but Calix interrupts, stating that his decision has already been made. Seeing that the prince won't budge, Garrett concedes. He can't help but wonder how this once weak boy has become so resolute. The room is aware of Russell's strength and Garrett's intellect. Now both stand by Calix's side, solidifying his position. Our boy smiles, knowing the county is nearly within his grasp. Suddenly, a blue light flashes. He opens the system and declares it's time to use more of his talents. As the system interface appears, he begins analyzing everyone in the room. The glint in his eyes and his cropped smile give him the look of a madman. Calix identifies everyone with ties to opposing factions or ambiguous loyalties. Those individuals are marked for removal. Even the useless ones won't escape his scrutiny. Only those who survive his loyalty test will remain in his future plans. Like the rest of the nobles, I'm sitting here wondering why this kid has such a creepy grin. Some of the others are trembling, knowing that if Calix takes a dislike to them, they're doomed. Desperate, they rush forward, showering him with praise, calling him an incredible leader and begging to speak with him. Calix tells them to calm down, saying they have plenty of free time to discuss things later. Russell watches from the sidelines to the unsure how things turned out like this. Time passes and we return to the castle. After a day filled with political maneuvers, Calix collapses onto his bed. He's exhausted. He reflects on his past life where he was average in studies, appearance, and just about everything else. Nothing in his life was terrible, but nothing was particularly great either. It all began to change when he discovered Heroes of Destiny. He wondered if completing something no one else could finally make him special. He recalls the moment he finished the game and the message declaring him the first human to acquire the seed of the gods. At that moment, he wiped his eyes and wished to be reborn in the content of Ellen. It was the only way he could continue to feel extraordinary. Now sitting on his bed, he remembers that wish and the game's narrative about being born as an insignificant soul. The story said he would need to survive turbulent times and become a hero to ascend the throne. He suddenly realizes what's happened. When he completed the game, his wish was granted, but perhaps the deity misunderstood what he truly wanted. Still, it doesn't matter now. There's no turning back. Calix wonders if completing this game once more will grant him another wish. He'd been drifting off to sleep bound to conquer this world again. The next morning, he wakes up, refreshed and ready for a new day. He ponders where to begin. He remembers certain territories perfectly from the game, but has no idea what she can really like in this world. Calix decides he needs to check the map to figure out exactly where Shiken is located. The system even provides him with a detailed map. What a beauty! A message pops up, notifying him that he's already conquered the entire continent of Ellen. Since he finished the game once, he now has access to all the map markers. He's ecstatic realizing this is essentially a treasure map, showing the locations of ruins, dungeons, and hidden secrets. This was one of the bonuses nobody knew existed, as no one else had completed the game. The map even includes information he wasn't aware of himself. With this resource, navigating the world becomes much easier. Then he pauses wondering what year it is. He checks the imperial calendar and sees it's the year 289. The game Heroes of Destiny begins in 294. This revelation helps him understand Shiken's situation. He inherited a piece of land that in 5 years would somehow vanish. He recalls Russell mentioning the dire state of the finances, and now it makes sense. They're on the brink of collapse. Suddenly, a financial status window appears in front of him. Calix glances over the details and immediately yells that it's unbelievable. Looking at the current state of affairs, he wonders if the best option is to steal all the money and flee. But he quickly dismisses that idea, realizing land is far more valuable than wealth. It can only be inherited. His first step is to review all financial records. He notices that farm collections aren't significantly lower than in other territories. Defense expenditures haven't risen much either. Time passes as he pores over the documents. A few hours later, he slams the papers onto the table, exclaiming that he's exhausted. Analyzing 10 years of territorial finances is too much for him. However, he identifies a major problem. The trade route with the Medrosa Desert has been severed. Apparently, another nation established a more lucrative trade route, drawing merchants away. What puzzles him is how they managed to fund such a large-scale project. On top of that, the annual debts are growing faster than their yearly income. Statistics alone aren't enough to solve this mystery. He needs more information. Frustrated, he rubs his head until an idea sparks. He remembers the old man from the meeting, the treasurer, Gidris, who has caught embezzling funds. At the moment, Gidris is locked up in the dungeons. The scene shifts to Calix descending into the cells. A guard stationed at the entrance asks what Prince Calix is doing there. Calix requests to see Gidris, pinching his nose at the overwhelming stench of the place. As they walk, the guard remarks that he never imagined the prince would visit such a place. Calix remembers this guard from the meeting, a type who submits easily to power. He calls out to the guard, who nervously responds. Calix, knowing the guard lacks authority, asks if innocent people should have their names cleared. The guard agrees enthusiastically, saying the prince is absolutely correct. Calix continues, suggesting that criminals who don't deserve freedom should also be reinvestigated. The guard salutes, claiming he understands perfectly. Though Calix doesn't fully grasp why this man abandoned his previous loyalty to work with him, he decides to use him for now. He reminds the guard not to address him as Lord just yet, as he hasn't officially taken the title. The guard apologizes, calling him Prince again. Feeling slightly awkward for enforcing formalities so hard, Calix simply orders the guard to lead him to Gidris. Moments later, they arrive at Gidris' cell. Inside, Gidris complains about the disgusting food, declaring that he'll be out soon anyway. Suddenly, Calix appears, asking how exactly Gidris plans to escape. What incredible plan does he have at his sleeve? Gidris turns, smiling confidently, and says he's been waiting for the prince. He claims Calix owes him a favor. Confused, Calix retorts, and he owes Gidris nothing. The only thing he'll ensure is that the rope for his hanging is strong enough not to snap. But Gidris, far from stupid, argues that while he may be imprisoned now, he's the only person with 20 years of experience managing Shikan's finances. If the prince is visiting him, it must be for that reason.